Chapter 21. First, save the larger living beings. Non-violence is the heart of every ashram and the essence of all scriptures. Dada Bhagwan. While explaining non-violence, the Enlightened One, Dada Bhagwan, says, God teaches that one must first care for human beings, ensure that no harm or sorrow is caused to any person through your thoughts, speech, or actions. Then, extend that compassion to animals such as cows, buffaloes, chickens, goats, those with 5 senses. Although they may not be equal to humans in capacity, they still deserve care and protection. Be mindful not to cause them pain. In this way, the second stage of non-violence includes all 5 sense beings apart from humans. In the third stage, we must protect beings with 2 sense or more as well. A seeker asked Dadaji, which is the purest form of food? It is the food derived from 1-sensed beings, ek indriya jivas. One who aspires for liberation has no right to consume beings that possesses more than 1 sense. Therefore, we must not incur responsibility for the suffering of creatures with multiple senses. The more senses a being possesses, the greater amount of punya, merit, required to compensate for the harm caused. Thus, when a person consumes such beings as food, their store of punya is depleted. A human being cannot survive without food, but consuming food inevitably involves some loss of merit to the person. Yet, the ideal is to minimize harm. That's why our food, ideally, should consist of 1-sense beings, ek indriya jivas, such as plant life or other subtle life forms. In this relationship, they become the food bhogya, and we, the consumers, bhokta, and thus we bear a proportional responsibility for the harm caused. God, in His grace, has permitted this much, that although consuming even ek indriya jivas carries some karmic consequences, it is relatively minor, since the food helps to sustain one's life of righteousness and spiritual practice. Yet, the profit outweighs the karmic loss. In other words, out of 100, you may incur 10 units of karmic debt, but earn 90 units of karmic merit. Moreover, the merit earned by the human through right living and righteous actions also uplifts the ek indriya being consumed. Through this karmic transaction, they are reborn in higher forms, ascending from 1 sense to 2 sense beings. Thus, through this cycle, their spiritual evolution is aided. The gains of the human become gains for those beings as well. In this way, the entire karmic accounting is gradually settled. But this profound science of spiritual balance, people fail to understand it. Dada says, 1-sense beings, ek indriya jivas, are not beings that experience suffering in the way more developed life forms do. Therefore, there is no need to delve too deeply or become overly anxious about consuming them. However, if you begin to interfere excessively, trying to assert control or claim righteousness over even this natural necessity, then it is your ego that is at work. This is all a part of worldly conduct, vyavhar, eating, drinking, and performing daily duties, necessary aspects of life. They must be carried out, but without attachment or pride. This entire world is made of living beings. Without life, there is nothing in this world, and that which is lifeless cannot be consumed. Therefore, you must consume living things in order to nourish the body. One sense beings, ek indriya jivas, do not contain blood, pus, or flesh, and thus their consumption is permitted. There is no need to worry about such small acts of violence. This teaching emphasizes the fundamental reality that life permeates everything, and in our material existence, sustaining life requires the consumption of other life forms. However, it draws a clear distinction between greater forms of harm and the minimal impact caused by consuming one-sense beings, which, by nature, do not involve the deeper forms of suffering experienced by more sentient beings. The philosophical essence here is about practical morality. While complete non-violence may be an ideal, our human condition requires us to engage in actions that may cause minor harm, but these should be done with mindfulness and without unnecessary guilt. The focus is on balance, nourishing the body without excessive concern to the consequences, and recognizing that the world itself is made of life, thus acknowledging our interconnection with all beings.